What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York. We are back at the Gramercy Theater, and today we return with Steffen of Obscura and Thulcandra. Thanks for being here. It is great to have you here.
Lovely talking to you guys again. And we just arrived over here in New York City like half an hour ago. We are setting up the stage right now. It's a sold-out show. First time in New York for us, so can't be better.
Yep. And you're doing double duty, so God bless you, right?
I'm old and it hurts.
Yeah, I can imagine. But it's so awesome to have you here. Your latest album is absolutely kick-ass, Hail the Abyss. For people who haven't heard the full-length album yet, do you feel that the first singles that we heard, As I Walk Through the Gateway, is a good representation of this whole album, or is that just the tip of the iceberg of what's to come?
Actually, it's just one color of a quite diverse album. So I think in a couple of weeks the second single will drop and you will see an entirely different side of the band. It's quite a journey to listen to the entire record. It's absolutely mind-blowing how many different ideas we brought with all four musicians working on the record. So it's quite interesting. Just follow the band and listen to the singles and you might get the clue.
Yeah, because when I hear like a song such as At Night or Velvet Damnation or Blood of Slaves, I feel like every song really played by its own rules and expressed its own emotions. So
that's pretty much underlining what we have in mind. We don't want to have an album that sounds from front to end like the same song. It's all about emotions. It's all about getting a different vibe from each song. And with different songwriters, it's way easier to achieve that.
Yeah, of course. Now, we've talked before on how different Obscura is from Thulcandra, but I want to know, because since Obscura is so conceptual driven, is Thulcandra maybe a little bit more of a personal project, where I feel like with Obscura there's more external sources of inspiration, but Thulcandra is mainly coming from within? That's my theory. Am I right?
They are entirely two different worlds. I mean, Thulcandra is, it's not a project, it's like a full band and we are rehearsing regularly, but with a different setup. The guys have regular jobs. I'm the only full-time musician, and that means I have a little bit more freedom to write. Conceptual-wise, we do have our framework we're working in, but it's not as stiff as Obscura. Obscura is very much with like work into detail. Like devil is always in the detail. And Thulcandra is not a little bit more loose, but it's a little bit more open. So hard to explain, but it balanced me out a little bit.
Yeah, of course. Would you say like it's a completely different side of you personally as well, or like do you tend to kind of use music as more of an escapism and not really bring your own personal life or experiences into it?
For me, it's not an escape. I love making music. I love working in the studio, as well as I love to travel around the world. With both bands, we play internationally, and it's nothing better for me. I simply love it, the entire package. Of course, there are days that are not the best. When, for example, on this tour, we had to cancel the tour because we were stuck in a snowstorm. I mean, it works somehow for the concept of the album.
But it's kind of metal.
Yeah. It's the best excuse you can imagine. But still, I mean, this is frustrating for all the fans that were about to drive to the venue, who bought tickets in advance, for us who were looking forward to play a show. But shit happens. I mean, you still have so much left that is more positive, making music in the studio, off the studio, traveling, playing live in front of people. So I don't want to change that at all.
Of course. Is inspiration something that could really be sought out, or do you prefer if the inspiration mainly strikes you in a way?
It's both. I mean, I have concepts how to write songs. After all those years, I know how to do that, but sometimes there's just an idea adding up to another idea you already have, and then there's this tiny little magic that makes a song a fantastic composition in the end.
Circling back to the new Thulcandra album, is it more or less a follow-up to A Dying Wish in a way, or is it more or less kind of like continuing as the Great Shadow EP?
It's more the continuation, since we have the same lineup. Almost like the bassist differed, but the main songwriters are the same, and also the framework when it comes to the artwork, the production, and all that. That's picking up from A Dying Wish. So it's more a continuation. I think it's a little bit far different from, for example, the debut album or the second record, but we are building up piece by piece. And with this lineup, I'm not sure. Maybe we have another album out in 2 years.
Yeah, right, exactly. You've been on a roll. I have 2 more questions for you. When it comes to the whole Thulcandra catalog, because I know with Obscura, Cosmogenesis, Omnivium, Acrosis, and Diluvium are like its own 4-way concept, and I know that A Valediction, the latest Obscura album, is the beginning of a trilogy. Are all the Thulcandra albums in a way sort of like connected in a way in its own individual concept, or is each album kind of like its own entity?
It's its own entity. They're not that stuck to each other as others, but we have some conceptual ideas like the blue covers. We want to have a very organic and raw, unproduced sound, and there are a couple of I wouldn't call it cliches, but we always work with twin guitars, and the entire presentation of the band is entirely different. It's more rock and roll, so to say. And this is something I would like to stick to, but it's not as with Obscura, where everything, like even lyrics are participating in different records to just spin a certain net of ideas. It's not that deep.
Fair enough. And that led me perfectly into the final question. I don't know if you've done a double duty Thulcandra Obscura show. It's definitely going to be our first experiences tonight. Does maybe playing together in a way, and I know that Wolfheart's playing in between the 2 sets, but like, do you think that playing together though brings a new layer of meaning to both projects in a way? Could one inspire the concept of another, or like could maybe it add a layer of context to a degree?
First of all, it's beautiful every day with this package with Fleshgod Apocalypse, Obscura, Wolfheart and Thulcandra, presenting a certain diversity of different bands to a crowd. And since we have like 10, 11 shows sold out so far, this is really successful. Playing with both bands every night is demanding, but for me personally, it's pure joy. We share one bus, Obscura and Thulcandra, and it's simply a collection of great personalities, great characters, and bringing both bands that are actually so far away from each other to one tour package, and that being successful in the very end. This is the best thing you can imagine as a musician. Yeah. I'm super happy and stoked doing that. It's like physically quite demanding, and we did that before in 2020. We also had a tour with Obscura, Gattitron, Thulcandra, and Fractal Universe in Europe. So I'm used to that, but in the US it's a little bit different because the distances are so long and so wide. The country is simply way bigger, so that causes a little bit more work.
Yeah. As you know, like I'm a fan of all the bands that are here tonight, and this is going to be my first time seeing Thulcandra, whereas the other bands I've had the privilege of seeing before. But I feel like opening up with that and then having Wolfheart's sort of storytelling and then bring in, Obscura's concepts and then having the theatrics of Fleshgod, it's definitely going to make for a beautiful experience. So I thank you and everybody here tonight.
Yeah, let's see how that will turn out. It's sold out. It will be a great show.
Yeah, can't wait. So before we go, I want to thank you for coming back on the show. Just with the brand new Thulcandra album, Hail the Abyss, coming out in May 17th, I believe, or 19th. Okay, I was close. Is there just anything else with Thulcandra you would like to promote, if you're allowed to say, of course?
Just listen to the singles. We produced a couple of great videos with all cliches: fire, ladies, burning ladies, a castle, and the Reaper. It will be fantastic.
Say no more. I can't wait. Everybody, we are here with Thulcandra and Obscura. Be sure to check out Hail the Abyss, coming out on Napalm Records May 19th. We'll see you next time on Heavy New York.